Oh, finally, we made it. Hello. I'm sorry I had a technical problem with my computer, and so I have to use my mobile phone tonight. Hope everything is going to work out fine. Say hi to everyone. Sorry for being late tonight, but I don't know what happened to my computer, and hope you're ready to go further into the next two Essen mirrors. Moving on further into our journey into the initiatory path, initiatory journey of the Essen mirrors. I can see that some people start to be connected. Welcome. Happy that you're here with me. Hi Manuele, how Lucia. This is going to be entirely in English because this is British of Light International. So I'm sorry for those that do not speak English. And I hope you're ready for the Essen mirrors. The fourth and the fifth Essen mirrors are going to be the ones we're going to be speaking tonight. Let's see if I can put this here. Okay. So, can you hear me? I just want to know if you can hear me clearly. Just that, please. If you just say that you can hear my voice, and then we can move on. Hi everybody. There are other people that start to be connected. Thanks for being here. Can you hear me clearly? Okay. So, we've been speaking about the Essen mirrors in the last two live I had here on Bridges of Light International. And we know that they are an initiatory journey. We all know that Jesus actually was coming from an Essen group. And we don't know much about the Essen. We know that they lived between the 1st century before Christ and the 1st century after Christ. We have very few script coming from history, from Plinio il Vecchio and Filone Alessandrino, because those people, the Essens, used to live just by themselves, and they just stay away from the society. And they used to do that because they had actually really some peculiarities. They were actually very different from the other people. This means that they used to dress completely in white all the time, and as it happened for Jesus, we know only about Jesus. We don't know much actually, because we know things only until his first years of age, and then we know something from the 30th on. This means that this happens because all the Essens underwent through an initiatory journey in order to develop their energies and to help them use their energies in a very peculiar and different way. They could use telepathy. They could transport themselves from a place to another with their entire body. They used to heal themselves with no need of anything. Hi Anna Maria. At the end, yes, I made it. It was hard. I had to find out what the problem was. Anyway, I'm here. And they left us lots of manuscripts, as we know. They are called the Dead Sea Rolls. They started to be found in 1948 by a shepherd that was there with his group. There is Noemi that wants to take part to this video. Let's see. Okay, and what happened that between 1948 and 19 yes, tonight is in English. Noemi, this is in English. I do lecture in Italian also. I'll be here in Italian into 2 days, next Thursday, with a very important guest, so I hope you will be able to follow me. We will be speaking about something very peculiar about water and about a new protocol to use informed water to heal in a very, very special way. So, tonight we're going to speak about the 4th and 5th Eastern mirrors. All the knowledge about the mirrors have been found in those rolls, the Dead Sea Rolls. The Dead Sea Rolls, they found 1972 rolls, all in the same place, all in the same area. I had the chance to go to Israel and to actually see where they have been found. And I have to admit, it's very, it's hilarious. The situation when you go there, it's hilarious because you expect actually to find like a big cave or something fascinating, and instead, it's a very deserted place where they have been found, and you have sort of a cliff on your right, and this cliff gets up to about 3 meters. And then there is another flat plane, and if you climb up the cliff, there are these little caves, very little caves, one next to the other, and they found them next Thursday, into 2 days. Thanks, Anna Maria, for translating. Next Thursday, so the 26th. And in those rolls, they found what now we call the Essen mirrors knowledge. Actually, they've never been calling them this way. Mirrors has never been written in the Dead Sea Rolls. Mirror is a word that has been stated by Greg Braden, that was the first one to actually understand those scripts. And he called them mirrors because this knowledge states that we face always situations that reflect something of us. And when that happens, it occurs because we separate from our soul. Our soul is split into different parts, and those parts reflect to us their image in order for us to integrate. Sì, sarò qui giovedì prossimo tra 2 giorni. So, in italiano. So, the Essens have been great into categorizing among the 7 type of relationships we can face during our life in order to become one, to reach our wholeness. Okay? Anytime we incarnate, we want to integrate part of us, behaviors, attitudes that we haven't been acquainted with so far. So it is quite important to understand the meaning of the mirrors, which are quite peculiar. A lot of books have been written on the mirrors, but for those that know me, you know that I have never been actually very happy with them. So I went through many of them in order to have a deeper acknowledgement of the mirrors, because they are so specific that I do believe they haven't thoroughly been thoroughly understood so far. If you really understand them and you manage to use them in your life, they give you the possibility to understand the map of your life, the way you're writing the map of your life. So they might be very, very useful. We've been speaking about the first, the second, and the third, and now we're going to speak about the fourth and the fifth. Okay, so ready to go through them? The fourth mirror speaks about addictions, any type of addictions. And it states something very, very precise. It states that when we find ourselves in the situation that we are perfectly focused onto something, we put all our energies onto something, but we forget all the rest, we are in an addiction. An addiction is not just what happens to a drug addict or to an alcoholic or to a workaholic. An addiction happens to anyone that is going to lose important items, important elements of his or her life. If I just focus onto working, then I might end up losing my wife or my family, separating from them. Or if I just can't stop doing something, I'm not free anymore. I have an addiction. An addiction means you depend on something. You think you depend on that. Let's see if I can I'm really trying to give you the correct idea of how deep these mirrors go. It's when you have an addiction is when you have also an obsession for something. You wanna keep watching the movie up to the end, even if you're dead tired, or you want to keep working and so you don't even go to the bathroom, or you keep driving even if you are very tired and you know you should stop. All these things are violating our wholeness because we want to achieve something that goes against ourselves, might be dangerous for ourselves. So we are totally focused onto an object, but we really lack of charity towards all the rest of our life. We don't consider enough all the other aspects of our life, and therefore we might lose them. So this mirror has a lot to do with the sentence that sometimes we say, I might stop whenever I want. Whenever we say that, we are in an obsession, in a compulsion, or in a addiction. Mm, when we are in such a state, in such a situation, we start to hate our body. That's incredible, but that's how it happens. We start to hate our body. We want the perfection of something out of ourselves, but we sometimes somehow reflect that to the perfection of our body. So all the people that somehow go to the aesthetic surgeon, they do have an addiction that reflects onto their body that way. See how precise and deep the mirrors go. It's not easy to understand them at first sight, not at all. That happens because we have something that deviates in our life from the correct way of doing things. Doing things. We don't manifest a part of us because we compromised in our reality, and so we do not manifest what we are. That is due to the fact that we have a void inside, and we feel the compulsion to fill up that void with something that somehow thrills us, somehow gives us a sensation, body sensations, something that is what we call dopaminergic, gives us a dopaminergic sensation. Drugs, what do drugs do, for example? They give us body sensation. Instead, when they are sort of analgesic, they sort of put to sleep our bad sensation, or these harmonic sensations. While when we are focused onto something in the correct way, we feel endorphin sensations. And when we fall in a drug addiction, any sort of drug addiction, also cigarettes can be, of course, smoking is an addiction, so also that, we produce a protein, and that protein is called delta phos B. The delta phos B protein is something that fixes into the RNA and stays in our body long after we quit the addiction. What does it do? It changes our genetics, it changes our programs within ourselves. So it changes the way genes have been transmitted and transcripted into ourselves. So it is absolutely very dangerous, very, very dangerous. That the addictions are due to the fact that we fall in the process that we don't feel ourselves, but we just want things with our brain. We forget to feel ourselves. That's why we have a void. We don't look into it, so we cannot feel it correctly. We feel it with something that allows us not to feel it, because there is a sensation taking place that takes our mind away from it, and so we will not be able to solve that problem. But there is another very, very important element that we have to speak of. When we start into an addiction, we somehow pierce our aura. And when we pierce our aura, there is the possibility for negative entities to get through those pierces, to those holes, and connect with us and suck our energy. So an addiction tells us also there is something that we manifest that is not connecting with our soul, with what our soul would like to do, but is connecting with the fact that we have been somehow infected by negative entities. And when that happens, of course, it gets harder and harder because those entities suck our energy, and we need to be more and more addicted. They get nourishment from our addiction. That's what stops us to get over it, besides, of course, all the other reasons that stop us to get over it. There is also another thing very important to consider for the addiction. We get addicted also because there is a cultural thought that we have interiorized in our life, and that thought is that only what will be gained throughout hard times, pains, harsh times is going to be real and worth it. So if we achieve something easily, we have the sensation it was too easy. We don't evaluate it the same way. This is crazy. This is crazy, because any sort of thinking that any philosophy, any way of thinking, any sort of thoughts that will speak us about sacrifice, about being completely committed, are never positive thoughts, are never a culture of light, are never a religion of light, are never thoughts of light. They are never enlightened thoughts. They belong to the black part. Because they put us in a way, they lead us to be in a state in which we're not happy. Instead, a correct way of thinking should lead us to our happiness. To believe that only with hard work, with total submission, we will gain something valuable is a way to forget all the elements that surround us in our life. If we commit ourselves to something so much that we forget our family, to celebrate important things, to rest, to have passions, hobbies in our life, then we're not living anymore. We are slave of something. Okay. So the fourth mirror says, look at yourself, and if you find yourself doing something too much, but so much that actually you're risking to lose everything, just stop. Ask yourself why you're doing something, why you brought yourself to that situation, but also remember that you have a hard time in saying no. You can't say no to people. Okay, also I have to put my mobile phone on charge. Forgive me, but tonight technology is not on my side. Okay. So, could I explain myself good enough about the fourth mirror? Do you have any questions about that? Is that clear enough? The fourth mirror relates to our ability to say no. Yes, we have to learn to stop something when we get too much of it, because that too much of it becomes the loss of all the rest. And we reach that situation when we don't want to look into ourselves and into our personal void. Okay, I wait for you to tell me if that was clear enough, or if you have any questions about that. Otherwise, I'll move on to the fifth mirror. Nothing to say? Okay. Let's speak about then the fifth mirror. That is another tough one because it relates to our parents. But it speaks of our parents in a very peculiar way. Okay, Lorena. Thank you very much, because it's very important for me to be able to understand any. They are so complicated to be explained, actually, that it is quite. I need you to know if you could. I could transmit you, if you could transfer to you at least the main concept of those mirrors. Okay, let's move on to the ninth, to the fifth mirror, the mirror that speaks about our parents. Some books speak about this mirror, saying that it focuses only onto the roles that our parents had in our life, and so to the fact that usually we repeat the same behavioral pattern that our parents act in their life. And this is absolutely true. Absolutely true. But actually, the fifth mirror says much, much more than this. Definitely much more than this. The fifth mirror speaks about the principle of roles. It says that as long as we see our parents as our father and our mother, and we don't see them as just human beings and also spiritual beings, we cannot move on into our evolution. Oh, Lorella. Oh, wow. Then it might be a little hard for you maybe to catch up, because we are already at the fourth and fifth mirror. So I do hope I'll try my best to let you understand the depth and importance of those mirrors. But anyhow, if you're interested, the other lives I made, you can find them on the YouTube Bridges of Light YouTube channel. Anyway, feel free to ask me anything that can clarify you about the subject. So, the fifth mirror actually says much more than the importance of the pattern that our parents used in their life. Yes. They are speaking about the fact that when we state that someone is more important than us because of its role, we already decided that we give more importance to one human being respect to the other. And this is quite different from the principle of respecting our parents. In fact, the rule says that we have to respect the mother and the father, speaking about the energies, the feminine, masculine energies. Towards a daughter, The father is the one that open up the space, and the mother is the one that restrict the space, that gives the border of the space, sets the borders of the space. And the opposite happens towards the boy. The mother opens up, the father closes. So actually the masculine and feminine energy switches depending on the situation, depending if you're a mother or a daughter or a son, and depending also on your parents, because sometimes mothers have a very masculine energy and vice versa. So this mirror deals with the fact that the principle, which is also the first commitment, to honor, to worship actually father and mother, is what creates within ourselves a problem. Because we have to worship somebody thinking he is anyway better than us. That is what leads us to have idols. When we worship an idol, a statue, an image, and we ask for mercy to that image, then we stop believing into what? Into the God within ourselves, into our capabilities, into our possibilities. So anytime in a society like ours, where there are rules that are very strict, are very precise, it is quite difficult to reach and to go back into the wholeness within ourselves, holiness and wholeness within ourselves. We always think there is someone, something out of us we cannot do without, because we need his, her, its help. We don't focus on ourselves and on our being God ourselves too, as well. To worship mother and father is quite different from being honored of having had a mother and a father. Of course, this has nothing to do with education. Of course, we need to have a mother and a father, a family, to be welcomed, nourished, educated the right way. We need love. We need all those things when we are a child. But when we grow up, we have to consider mom and dad as human beings and also as single souls. If we keep within ourselves a sort of sensation of owing something to them just because they are our parents, then we're framed. The role in our life that people play around us is overwhelming and is overthrowing the reality of things, because we consider the people belonging to those roles as more important. This is the way we split up our soul according to the fifth mirror. And it speaks firstly about parents, because all of us have been hit by the third commitment. Okay, let's see what Lorella says. Makes really sense and explains a lot of things about relationship with our parents. Yes, okay, great. Yeah, it's exactly like that, Lorella. Exactly like that. actually, mother and father incarnate the cycle of life that continues in the evolution in time. Honorate means to respect, doesn't mean to worship. And we can respect anybody and any soul, but we have to consider that actually we are all related, we are all a wholeness, but we also, as long as we're here, one single soul. So let's see how I can say that. The perception that we have of ourselves as spiritual beings is proportionally inverted respect the perception we have of our parents. If we somehow keep thinking we have to worship and honorate them, and that somehow we owe them something because they gave us birth, they gave us life, they brought us to life, we're not free. We give them an importance that is not correct. I'm not saying that our parents are not important. Of course they are. But we keep them, seeing them only as father and mother, and not a man with a soul and a woman with a soul. This is what will help us, for example, think that the measure of our town is the measure of our town. We will see the role, we will worship the role, and we won't understand the human being. It's a way, actually, believing to the importance of the roles is something that prevents people from seeing themselves as people that do not need the others to accomplish their soul path, to follow their soul path. That will help us only to see the world very fragmented, very fragile, and also we will think that we need someone to protect us, to take care of us, in order for us to be able to reach our goals. We have to look at our parents as those that allowed us to come here, to be here in this life, using their bodies. If we can do that, then we break up the fifth mirror. And this does not mean that we have to become obnoxious or aggressive toward our parents. I state that once more because I don't want to be misunderstood about this. But as well as our parents are not our parents in a worshipping way, our children are not our children. We gave them birth, we brought them to life, but they belong to the world. They don't belong to us. If we keep saying to our kids that they are our kids, even when they are grown-up persons, then we are trying to restore the fifth mirror for them. We have to let them go. There is a beautiful poem I would like to read for you about this. Your children are not your children. They are the children of life itself. They don't come to us, but they come through us. They don't come to you, but they come through you. If they don't belong to you, although you live with them, you can love them, but you cannot compel them to think the same way you do, because they have their own thoughts. Since you have to take care of their bodies, remember that doesn't mean you have to take care of their souls, because their souls belong to houses they yet have to come, that you will never be able to visit, not even in a dream. You will try to imitate them, but you cannot make them similar to you, because life keeps going on and it doesn't stop looking backwards. You are the arch from which your children will act like arrows that will be thrown far away from you. The archer sees the triggers on the infinity path, and it bends the arch with all its strength so that all the arrows can go straight forward, fast and easy. So please rejoice when you are into the archer's hands, because the archer loves the fly of the arrow fly, as well as he loves the stillness of the arch itself. I've been translated this poem from Italian, and so I hope I could give you the idea of the depth of these words. We are the arch from which our parents launched us into life, and we have to be the arch to launch our kids, our children from, as arrows. But they have to follow their path, while we have to be steady right there. Anytime we try to keep an arrow in the arch without throwing it, then we are reflecting the role. An arrow has to go, and we have to let the arrow be thrown. Anytime we don't do that, we are into the fifth mirror. We are speaking about roles, and since I'm the parent, then you have to be with me and take care of me or be similar to me. You owe me something. Or maybe I am the children. We're all, of course, daughters and sons of someone. And if we feel we owe them something, we're wrong. We are worshiping a role and not a person and not a soul. Okay, I know this is quite a different perspective, different point of view, very different from the ones we've been used to so far. So I hope I could transfer the meaning and the depth of the fourth and fifth mirror good enough to you, clearly enough to you. So I'm almost done with my time. I'll be glad if the few of you that followed could just give me a feedback, whether it was clear enough, whether you have any questions, maybe you're curious, maybe you're astonished because of this new different vision. I'd like to have a feedback, if you don't mind. About mostly if it was quite understandable. Yes, Anna Maria, that's quite true. Anna Maria says there is a beautiful poetry, The Children of Kibran, by Kibran. Yes, it is incredibly deep. Yes, it's true. It's true. That would be very proper for this mirror. Okay, Lorella says, I really like this point of view. Great, great. It's not easy for us to act that point of view, to put it into action, because we are grown, mostly for us, we're Italian, and even we don't hate on our religions. We, we are in a Catholic world, and as I say, even if you don't agree with some statements, you live into them. They go through you. Culture is something that takes place into DNA. Even if we don't agree, it's very hard for us to get rid of many, many thoughts. And for us, it's very hard because we've been very used to worship mother and father and respect the rules. How many times we've been told we have to respect that person because she is this, she does that. We grew up with that. So it is quite an effort to understand how the fifth mirror works and how deep have been captured, have been tricked by the fifth mirror. Okay, it helps me dealing with the difficulties of the relationship with my mom. Okay, great, great. I'm very happy that all we're saying during this live can be of any help with you. Great, I'm very happy. Okay, so I'm running out of my time. Next time I'll be here next Tuesday in English at 9 o'clock Rome time, and we're going to finish up our journey into the 7 Eastern mirrors, because we'll be speaking about the 6 and 7 mirrors. So we'll be going through what has been called the 6th mirror is the dark night of our soul, while the 7th mirror says everything is perfect, but in a very peculiar way. So it's been going to be intriguing to see actually what mirrors have to say about these two. Subject will be talking next Tuesday. Thank you very much for following. Hope you enjoy this time spent with me. See you next Tuesday if you're curious to know about the other two mirrors. Thank you. Bye-bye.